my name is Alicia Hale, and in this video I will defend how my Deck.Toys activity meets all the criteria on the grading rubric in order to receive a score of 30 points. The very first category on the rubric talks about learning goals, standards, and theme. As students first begin the activity, they click on Start Here, where they are presented with the theme and scenario via a letter from Farmer Bob. In his letter, Farmer Bob explains that he is trying to set up an operational farm, but he needs a savvy mathematician in order to help him make some calculations and decisions to help him figure out how to make his farm successful. He explains to the students that they will need to complete a total of 8 tasks for him in order for his farm to be set up and ready to go. This sets up the theme for students and gives them a reason for why they are doing the tasks that they are doing. The theme is also present in the background of the activity, as students can see barns, cows, ducks, and things of that nature, reminding them of the overall theme. In addition, each of the activities that students complete are on theme with helping Farmer Bob. For instance, there's an activity where they help him figure out how many animals to purchase, an activity where they help him figure out how big to make his pastures, where they figure out dimensions so they can help him paint his barn, and where they use percents in order to help him determine how many supplies he might need to buy for his farm. In addition to the theme that is present throughout the entire activity, so too are the learning goals and standards. As soon as students get their message from Farmer Bob, they immediately move on to the Ready to Go slide, which will give them navigational directions and learning goal expectations. The Ready to Go slide begins with a picture of Farmer Bob thanking them once again for helping him set up his farm. It also tells students that in order to help Farmer Bob, they will need to complete the following learning goals: use ratio reasoning to solve problems, find equivalent ratios, use unit rate, use percents, reason about the area of parallelograms, triangles, and rectangles, and find the volume and surface area of a rectangular prism. After reading these learning goals, students are asked to reflect on them and fill out a self-evaluation to determine how ready they are to engage in this learning activity. Students list the goals that they feel confident about and the ones that they think they might need a little bit of help on. They are then asked to assign themselves an overall confidence level with this activity before they begin. Immediately after evaluating themselves, students are given navigational directions, which is another section of the rubric. Students are told that any icon with an animal on it are going to give them information that they will need to plug into Farmer Bob's checklist in order to finish this activity. They are told that any icon with a key on it upon completion will provide them a key that they will need in order to unlock the locks on Farmer Bob's checklist, going in with the escape room theme of the activity. Students are also told that if they get stuck and find themselves needing help, they can click on a question mark icon, which should provide assistance to help refresh their memory on how to use the skills that they are being evaluated on. Once students learn about how to navigate this activity via the Ready to Go slide, they are then allowed to move through any section of this deck that they choose to. There are 4 different sections, each section being introduced via a signpost. Students could choose to start in area, or they could choose to start in ratios, or they could choose to start in percents, or in surface area and volume. But in order to access any area, students first have to access the signpost, which explains to them the learning goals and expectations for this specific area. For instance, this signpost says that they are going to be working on mastery of Common Core State Standard 6GA1. In order to complete the assignments in this section of the deck, they will need to be able to find the area of triangles and parallelograms using what they already know about rectangles. If students read these goals and realize that they might not remember how to find the area of triangles or parallelograms, they should immediately click on the Review Finding Area activity. This optional activity is given as an accommodation for students who maybe don't remember what we learned in class about finding the area. As they work through multiple choice questions to find area, they are also presented with different formulas that can help them remember what they need to do in order to get the area of different shapes. Again, this is an optional activity. Instead, students could bypass the review and go directly into the activities. In this way, learner choice is present as students have multiple options, not only in which activities they complete, but also which order. If students would prefer to start in ratios, they could always click on that signpost instead, which will also give them standards and learning goals for this area. In this way, the standards and learning goals are acknowledged throughout the entire activity. The next criteria addressed in the rubric is engagement, and in order to receive a full score on this, the deck is required to have a minimum of 6 activities. This particular deck has 8 activities that students need to complete, as well as a couple optional activities that are just there for review. Part of the criteria is that these activities represent a variety of different learning and assessment activities for students. There are, within these necessary activities, 4 slide activities and 4 study set games. Within those study set games, there is 1 memory game where students have to match vocabulary terms to the words that these terms apply to. And there are matching games, such as matching which of these calculations are volume and which are not. A requirement for these slide activities is that they utilize at least 5 separate apps. Each slide has different apps, some of them being locks, keys, or multiple choice questions. You've already seen that in the Ready to Go slide, students are asked to fill out a poll. This app was added to this slide where students fill out a poll and type in a text answer. These are 2 separate apps that students engage in on this one slide. In the Pastures Pals activity, there is a multiple choice question added to this slide, where students have to select all correct responses to the question, asking them which dimensions will yield them a specific area that Farmer Bob is asking them to do. In the Painting the Barn activity, students are given a lock slide where they simply have to answer the correct calculation to the barn question, and they are also asked to draw their own rectangular prism that would yield a certain volume. So in this activity, we are using both the Draw app as well as the Lock app. On one of our slides, as a reward for completing the activity, students are given the Pasture Pal key, which they will then use in order to unlock Farmer Bob's task list. So in total, there are 6 different apps added to the slide activities. The apps, again, include the Poll app, the Draw app, the Lock app, the Text app, the Key app, and the Multiple Choice Question app. This not only meets the criteria of having a minimum of 5 apps, but actually exceeds it by having a total of 6. Multimedia instructions and activities are embedded throughout the deck. As already stated, there are multiple videos that students can watch in order to help them. Instructions are given both in the form of written text and games, and students complete activities that require them to answer questions in different ways, to draw. They're given these directions through pictures, through images, all kinds of different methods of multimedia used within this deck. The deck is set up as an escape room style activity where students need to complete tasks in order to finish. Here is Farmer Bob's task list where he tells them all the different learning goals they need to complete, and each task either comes with information that they need to fill in, such as how much money am I going to sell my eggs for, or they need a key to unlock it, such as finding the Pasture Pals key when they complete the Pasture Pal activity. So again, meeting the criteria of an escape room activity as well as embedding locks into the deck. In summary, this deck toy assignment deserves a score of 30 points because it meets all the criteria laid out on the rubric for 30 points. The learning goals are included in the lesson. The learning tasks are aligned to these learning goals, and the Common Core standards as well as the learning goals are present throughout the entire activity. There is a story-based theme or scenario throughout the entire activity present in both the background, the images, and the actual tasks students are completing in order to earn keys and information. Learners have multiple pathways that they can choose. There is not a linear sequence of events they need to follow, but are able to make choices about which tasks to complete. Learner engagement is present as there is a combination of slide activities and study set activities. There are a minimum of 6 activities, and at least 5 separate and different slide apps are included within the activity. There is a variety of different games and assessment styles given to the students, such as memory games, matching games, filling in blank, multiple choice, or even drawing a shape to meet certain criteria. Multimedia is present throughout the activity, including videos, images, interactive activities, and things like that. There are uses of locks in order to complete the activity, which goes along with the breakout box strategy game. In order to finish, students need to collect keys and or clues, which will allow them to unlock locks on Farmer Bob's checklist. There are explicit directions provided to students on how to navigate the activity so they understand how to find the different activities to complete Farmer Bob's checklist. And all of this is attached to a rationale worksheet.